And we're
And we're
live. Did you hear that Prince Harry has had a child? It's a boy.
Bob had a baby. It's a boy.
Yeah. Meghan and Harry has a
Cool.
boy. It's a big deal.
It's not though.
Speaking of
We'll have
thrones,
babies every day.
God.
do you like that?
No.
Segue. Speaking of thrones, season 8, episode 4. Welcome to Throne Glow. Your home for all of the hottest of the takes. We have the hot takes, we have the best takes, we have the best words, and we have the best crew. JT, Dark Dome joining us from DC.
Live today only.
Yep. Also known as Teapot Dome. Can you
And of
embrace
course,
that nickname?
Holmes.
I think it's fine. I'm about it. Teapot Dome.
I think it's fine. You think
TDS,
it's just
baby.
fine.
I'm into it. Dark Dome. I'm about it. It's good.
Dark Dome.
I don't know why all my names make me sound like some sort of super.
Because that's your role, Dark Dome.
You are a villain.
You're villainous.
I'm like Littlefinger here. I mean, R.I.P.
No, your favorite character is Euron.
No. Oh my God. Apparently, to hear you talk, he's awesome in the books, but I hate him.
Oh, Euron in the books is awesome. Yeah, he's
Out here, guys. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
like a god. It's wild.
Okay, let's get into this episode, though. Let's not just start throwing out random stuff.
Well, I mean, Euron's in the show, in the episode.
Yeah, sure.
But anyways, here we go. Season 8, episode 4, Throne Glow. Initial reactions.
Hmm.
Our hottest takes here. And go.
What's your glowiest take?
Oh,
Yeah. Where was your glow after watching this episode, JT?
medium glow.
You're at a medium glow.
Kind of just like maybe some kind of overhead light
like a 60-watt soft
in
white
like
glow.
a random apartment kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
just
Slightly too big for that one light.
yeah. I can't say, it wasn't super low, but I'm not gonna say it was a lightning storm or anything like that.
Yeah.
I agree. I think I'm like, your apartment, all your lights are off and you open your refrigerator door. It's a good bright new bulb even, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's fluorescent and very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And
See, I'm
How
gonna
about
go.
you?
I'm gonna go Christmas tree on just the regular setting, not the blinking setting. Christmas tree lights.
Oh, see, that's a
But
way
just
better
regular-
light than ours, though.
Yeah, no, I liked it though,
It's, like,
but I
really
did like
good.
it.
Yeah.
I
it's very
because it is because I thought
It's a warm glow.
and the
Makes you
reason
feel cozy.
well, it's different colors, you see, because I had different feelings about this episode because the first part of it I was a little like the whole after party and Tormund got like all of these scenes about him just getting wasted and not drinking, which is fun to see, but a lot of those scenes came off to me as like deleted scenes, like what you would see on like extra,
like B-roll or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Mhm.
But eventually it picks up and it gets going really good. Like, but yeah, I started really low, and although that opening scene I really liked, with them burning the bodies, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, that was good.
But anyways, yeah, those are my initial reactions. There are a couple of pretty serious deaths that came about. Some departures from the show, I think, of characters you're never going to see again.
Yeah.
So there were some heavy hitters, some light moments, some dark moments. Again, like Christmas tree. That's where I'm at with that.
Very astute pick.
Yeah. That's where my glow's at here.
I love the glow of Christmas trees.
I do too.
If I could just have that going all the time through the year, I'd love that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing this episode differently, right? I think we've
Right.
decided-
Yeah, so after these initial reactions, we're just going to go like chronologically, but sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
Cody.
No. I was just gonna say, like, just throwing it out there for just reveal the quote unquote new format. We figured rather than trying to go by character, because then it ends up in this weird train where you start talking about two characters and then you lead to the other character. We're gonna do it way more chronologically this time with, just as the episode progresses. So just letting everybody know that that's the format. Because while I do think just talking about characters is fun, I do think it ends up feeling a little disjointed because we go from beginning of story to end of story to
right. Yeah, instead of just jumping around, I think it's just easier for people to follow this way. And
yeah, as long as I can actually remember what order stuff happens.
Right. I mean, there is that issue.
Sure.
I'm not the best either.
Well, you watched it twice at least, so you have it better in your head.
Yeah.
Precisely sequential, though. If anybody listening would like to lampoon us for any of this, that's
fine. Yeah,
please do. We'll take the comments.
Yeah.
No pub is bad pub.
Just like Rhaegal,
right. Oh God, we'll get to that fucking guy. But anyways, yeah. So just to start it off here, so I kind of broke this episode down into three loose sections. You have this after party aftermath. You got them scheming, and then you have action being taken towards the end. So we'll start at the beginning there. That opening scene. What do you guys think? JT?
I thought it was good. I don't really know. I mean, I guess it was, it was sad. It was somber. It was okay, yeah, you can see how many people they actually lost. Mm-hmm. And how it obviously affects everyone that's alive still. Yeah. And it was a dramatic looking scene as well, so that was right. Well put together. Kind of set it up as with appropriate gravity of these people really died for the rest of humanity to live, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was lit very well too. They had a lot of blue tones, of course, which they do.
They learned after last episode to actually light the fucking scenes.
Something, yeah. But I mean, no, and I noticed they do this a lot when they're in the north. They use some sort of, their blues are very much, but I don't know if it's a blue filter or anything. I would not even dare begin to guess. But I thought, because you start with what starts with Jorah's face, right? I believe is the actual. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really cool, and just the way it kind of pans out, it gives him another big moment of importance because he's the first one you see, and it starts so close to him, and it's kind of this, romanticized shot of this dead knight, So I thought that was another great nod for Jorah. Same thing with Ed. He gets a little bit more respect by being shown specifically, and kind of again shown not knightly exactly, but being shown very officially and laid out and obviously respectfully. So I thought it was a nice funeral scene. I don't know what else to call it other than it was a great send off for characters that have fought hard, and like Jess was saying, Jon gave that big speech about it brought the importance up about how big the battle really was, because that was kind of another way we a big criticism we all had last episode was that everything was they only got to they lost the Eternal Army lost their very first battle in the very first place they ever went. But that being the case or whatever, it's still Jon makes it goes on to say it's this victory will echo through the ages. I mean, he doesn't say that, but that's the general theme, right? We've saved humanity from an existential threat. This is a big deal. So that was cool. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was very, very well shot. It was cinematic and somber, and it was your typical funeral after a battle scene. It was very good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I had a couple things on that. Because it's appropriate send off. I think opening with Jorah, kind of, and the episode brings that full circle towards the end because Dany loses her other advisor, so it's trying to show just how lonely and isolated she is becoming. She loses her main knight, and then at the end of the episode she loses her main advisor, her right hand advisor. So it's right, and so it's she's losing her things very, very quickly. And I thought also specifically about that scene is they paired each of kind of the dead major characters with one in real life. So like, or not in real life, and still alive. So, you know, you had Danny lighting Jorah, you had Sansa lighting Theon, you had Sam lighting Ed. And which one I thought was really important was John's. He lights Lyanna Mormont. And I think that connection to the North there, like that's his lineage, that's his legacy. Like that's because it's, you know, obviously saying something connecting each of those pairs of people and connecting John to Lyanna Mormont, I think is really interesting. A, because her name's Lyanna, that's his mother's name, and that he just found out. So that's going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
And B, Lyanna is like the embodiment of the North. That's kind of what they made that character in the show. And for him to be kind of respecting, like, because they kind of go to where they respect the most, you know? And them connecting those two characters in particular, I thought was really well done. And then just the last thing I'll say about that scene was just when the smoke starts billowing up and it just kind of obscures everything. Just the visual of that kind of just fires lighting for death, and then it cuts to the Great Hall and they're all inside. So it's like fires of the dead, fires of the living. You know what I mean? Like I thought it was a cool parallel between the two that they, but yeah, I thought it was that was like one of my favorite scenes of the entire episode was just that first one. And and John's speech, again, it just shows how, and we'll get into this as the episode goes, and I think kind of what the show writers are trying to do, but he's just a better leader. He's more political. Like he knows what to say. There's people follow him for a reason. And like these big rousing speeches that he gives sometimes, you know, it's like in Avengers when Captain America gives his big speech, like people are like, oh man, this guy's good at this. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of like a born leader, you know? And they,
later on, I mean, it's like that big theme, I think.
What's that? Sorry.
I said Varys, I mean, literally later in the episode discusses that exact point about like John is just a naturally charismatic leader. Like people,
right?
Says something like people are naturally drawn to him or whatever. Which,
yeah, and again, that him getting paired with Lyanna, like Lyanna is a tough person she's a tough nut to crack, you know, and yet she was she was one of the, wasn't she the first where she's like, you know, there's only one king in the North, and his name is Stark. I think it was her that says it. But anyways, I thought it was just a really good scene, and I wanted to pick out that one specifically because I liked it a lot. But moving on to the after party scenes here, we had Tormund getting wasted. We have Brienne playing the drinking game with the Lannister brothers.
Well, I feel like, hold on, at first it wasn't really so jubilant. It was like you just came from a funeral and everyone's like kind of somber still at first, you know.
Then you have the Gendry moment. That's what.
And then Daenerys kind of changes it with that Gendry situation.
Yeah, I did skip over that. That was an accident. But yeah, so let's talk about that Gendry moment for a second.
Yeah.
Born Gendry.
Yeah, Gendry. I don't know if he should have been a Rivers, by the way.
If what?
They like have bastard surnames. So that's why John is a Snow, because he's in the North. Rivers means you're a bastard from the Riverlands. But he's not. He's from King's Landing. But he's from, I think it's, I don't know. I think it may be, but he could be from the Stormlands as well. So he could be just like, should have been Gendry Storm.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's technicality. But anyways, becomes leader of the Baratheon house, I guess. Lord of Storm's End.
Yeah.
But
which is cool for him. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Right. I just don't know what to think about Gendry, to be honest with you, because he's kind of just oafy a lot of the time, and like, I mean, I don't know where they're going with him either, but that scene in particular, I think, said more about Dany than it does Gendry. I've mentioned this to Jessica before, but and again, it kind of plays to the major theme of the episode, but like, she's not good in political situations. She's not good forming allies. Like that starts out with, oh, you killed just want to let you know that your dad killed my family, disposed or usurped them. All of your brothers are dead. Do you even know who is the leader of your ancestral home? Like, and it's like, where is this going? What is she about to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she's like, psych, you're my friend. You get the castle. We're all cool now. Like, that's not how you're supposed to do that.
Right, but I think it's motifs with her. Like, that's a big problem with her character right now, is that, like, and it's again, it's brought up later in the episode where, Tyrion admits, or so much as admits, that he's afraid of Daenerys, and that she's unpredictable, and there's these things like even Jon can't deny that, because I mean, it's not like, I think the thing with the Tarleys, when Sam finds out, like, Jon defends it, but Sam of course hits him with the, well, what would you have done? And I think Jon says something like, it doesn't matter and whatever. So it's like, it's all these different things of setting her up, even in like base scenarios where she doesn't seem to understand like finesse. Like, she's just like, and I mean, I know that her being weird in conversation with Gendry is not the same as, killing two Tarleys, but like, the point is she just like has this unpredictable nature, I think, that they're really trying to emphasize, where it's like nobody knows what she's going to do at any given moment. So it's like she starts, like, that conversation could have started with or ended with Gendry being executed, and that's why everybody looks at her like that. They're like, oh god. So it's just more and more highlighting that even in like casual conversation when there's a party going on, everybody immediately is like, oh fuck, like, she's going to kill this kid. Not a way you should be thinking about your new queen. Like, Gendry is obviously a hero, and I mean, she treats him as such, but like the fact that everybody in the room freezes and is kind of like, oh god, oh lord, is like, I think this show is trying to get through to us.
Yeah, and it's like, at the very least, it was really awkward at first, and no one knew how to take it. So then it was like that toast like broke it, and it was like, okay, everyone, yeah, yay, Gendry, or whatever.
And Davos is like, the one that does that. Like, one of the most political guys comes in and is like, I need to break this situation up. And it's kind of a cool nod because Gendry and him are buddies way back in season 3. But yeah, and the other,
but it like needed that for everyone to even know how to act. They were like, so what do we do right
and
now?
that seems important. 2 things that I picked out there was, A, like, Tyrion hits on it a little bit later, but when Sansa asked him, like, you're afraid of her, aren't you? That's what it is. And it's like, everybody is afraid of her, and that shows it right there. It's like, what the fuck is she gonna do right now? Like, there is a certain fear to her that people don't know what to do with. And secondly, I forgot what I was going to say. I had it written down, and I can't find it now.
Matter.
Right, exactly.
While you're thinking of that, I will go way back to a Robert Baratheon thing, where you have Ned and his interaction, where on the surface, Robert acts like, a lot of people are not like scared of Robert in the same way that people are scared of her. But there's a moment, I can't remember because it's been so long since I've rewatched this, but where Ned says something, like insults him or says something to him, and you don't know their relationship yet as a viewer, and everybody just kind of like either looks at him, there's like this supposed tension in the room for a minute, and then Robert of course starts laughing and whatever. So that's the point. Like, Robert wasn't even his hand, and yet Robert knew that, Ned knew that Ned was in his hand and knew that he could go in and trust himself to not get beheaded by making some sort of thing. Whereas I don't know that, even like Jon, I don't think feels like he could just go up to, Daenerys at these, like, I don't know. It's not like he would like make fun of her, it's not the same, same levels of trust. Whereas, Robert may not have been a great guy and a great king, but his subjects didn't think, or at least some of them didn't think that, a misslip of speech is going to get them beheaded. Ned trusted him enough to try, before he got killed, of course, to reveal all of these things to him and these informations of what was going down behind his back. Whereas, would Tyrion feel the same? Like, does he absolutely trust being able to go up to Daenerys and like straight up tell her? Varys tried. He tried to say, hey, look, I swear to you that I would tell you were making a mistake, and you're making a mistake. And she just blows by him.
Yeah, and
but she did not listen whatsoever. Like,
That's what was the other point, is like where the power derives from. Like she even says, like, you're the Lord of Storm's End because I told you you are.
Right.
That's why you're there. Like, and whereas John's political power seems to come from the people that follow him, he never once says I want it. But like, and they make this point the whole episode, like, it doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what you want. Like, the power, his power derives from those around him and the people under him, whereas it's opposite for her. Like,
Yeah.
she's got all the power. She's the big dragon. And so, like, that's where it comes from.
But she wants to claim that it's from the people.
Right.
But she does really bad at connecting
and here's where
to
the
them. Yeah.
conflict is going to come in or whatever.
Yeah, I think she means it, though. Like, I think a lot of the things where Dany gets criticism, and I've even been so, and I think I'm actually changing, at least with Show Dany, where I think she will have I think the arc will be that she kind of, there is all this tension and there is maybe some drama, but then maybe she does, like, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, like, I don't think she's going to go full on, dark Mad Queen or whatever, but because I don't think that she is, like, Jessica, you were saying, like, she pretends or she thinks that it's this, and I think she truly thought, like, her whole arc in the beginning was she's going home, like, the people are going to welcome her, like, she believed all that shit that Viserys told her, like, or Viserys, whatever his name was, like, she thought she was going to get to Westeros and people were going to be like, all right, here's our missing queen, like, this lady, we've been waiting for you, and just nobody cares at all. Like, they all, like, leave her alone in this big room during the party, and that's what I read from it. Not like some people apparently thought that, like, oh, she's mad and this is going to be, like, I just see it as she's realizing that this is not what she thought. Like, people should be celebrating her, and she thought that, like, that's what they wanted, and in fact, nobody cares. Like, and more worse than that, like, they're all suspicious of her, at least as a general population,
Right.
And I think I don't think she's bad or mad or going mad, like Mad King style. I think that she's just incredibly disillusioned and has taken incredible losses of her people she knows. Because, like, yeah, I think Jared, you said earlier, she's basically completely alone now. I mean,
Yeah.
very last.
Tyrion is ride or fucking die. Though.
But
like,
yeah,
I gotta love that about him. He is like, I'm sticking with her. Like I said, I was gonna do it, and I'm gonna fucking do it.
But yeah, I mean, it's like she clearly has a hard time letting people in, and it's like I feel like the last person that she really did let in was Jorah, and now he's gone. So it's like, well, yeah, but still to a different extent.
Yeah.
Than
she let him in. You know what I'm saying? Like,
like come into my castle. Yeah.
But still, I mean, obviously there's still tension between them and blah blah blah. That's a whole thing. But like, she doesn't feel like she knows anyone now. Like, literally, like, yeah, whether it's they're scared of her or anything of that aside, like, she just doesn't know them. They've been on these whole adventures together. They've done stuff. They have these long backstories together. She doesn't know them. Well, you know what I mean? And it's like, you can tell she's like lonely, disillusioned. Yeah, wondering, this whole thing isn't working out for her. And you can see all that in her. Like, it's almost like a weird, like, high school lunchroom situation where she's like doesn't have anyone to talk to except she's the queen.
Yeah, not only that, but she lost all of those people in defense of their shit. Like, I'm here for you. I lost everything, and now you're isolating me.
Yeah.
Like,
I also think of, like, her reactions to these things and her, because she was pretty aggressive, obviously, with staring Sansa down and certain things that she did and said. I mean, it was very obvious she was asserting her queendom or her dominance or her authority or whatever the hell you call it, her regal stature. Like, it, and Jon was, of course, doing the same thing. He butt in at some point later in the episode and was like, the army will do whatever our queen tells us, so there was a lot of that in this episode. But it's like, and it kind of seems weird in some way, like, man, Daenerys is, like, really, like, I don't know, she seems to be kind of, she could play the game a lot differently. But then when you consider, like, yeah, she lost, like, she says something like, oh, this is not my battle, but I've come to help. And it seems so petty. And then it's like, oh, actually, she's lost pretty much the last bit of the things in her life that was important to her in this battle. You know what I mean? Like, it almost seems like she's being overreactive. It's like, I've come down here, like, this is not my battle. This is Jon's fight. I've come to help you. And it's like, oh, well, of course you did. There was a zombie apocalypse happening, but she doesn't see it that way. She sees it as like, I lost Jorah. You know what I mean? Like, I lost most of my armies. Like, I lost my Dothraki, original OGs. Like, so she really has given up a lot. Like, I think I've been judging her a little harshly, at least in some ways, because especially up to like after last episode, or the episode prior where Jorah died and all of that, and now Missandei, and spoiler, But yeah, I think she's going. The more I was convinced that she was going to go through this like bad arc where she's the bad guy, I think she's going to go the other way, and she's going to have a moment where like she redeems herself, like maybe even at the very end, like maybe even after fighting against the North or whatever. Like I hope she's going to have some sort of moment where she like redeems herself, because I don't think it makes sense for her character to just be end up being like the bad guy. I think that's
yeah
of an ending.
I never really thought that she was going to go all the way down that road, but
I mean, she's about to fuck some shit up, though.
Yeah,
like, she's about to burn some people alive. That's about to happen.
Well, and I think they're very strongly hinting that, because I mean, it's not like like people always talk about it in the show, like, oh, is she going to be like the Mad King? But we as viewers are usually led to believe not. But I think more and more, like, think about when Jon in the room eventually tells her, like, I'm going to tell Arya and Sansa. She looks at him with this, like, up close. She was being all lovey-dovey and kissy, and then she looks at them with these eyes. I wish I could just put a screen cap up and like everybody could see this right now. But the way that she looks at him is like, all right, dude, you've just, fine. And it's like the coldest ass gaze I've seen anybody. And it's like, all right, but I don't think it's like hateful. I think it's just, she knows, like, once this gets out, and she says something about, you'll put stuff into motion that can't be stopped. Like, that's not like, oh, people are gonna hurt me. She's like, I will fucking kill your family. Like, like,
well, no, I don't think that's what she was saying.
I think it was like, that's like, she looked at him stone cold. Like, I mean, of course she doesn't want it, but like Daenerys is not gonna be like, oh, Sansa's trying to kill me, I guess I'll be killed and relinquish my, like, she's gonna do something. She's gonna fight back. Like,
well, sure, yeah, I think she's gonna fight back, but I don't think that's the majority of her point when she said that the news itself will have a life of its own outside of what her or Jon do. It's like, just, it'll take on its own momentum, and like the people will want, but yeah, of course she's gonna fight back. She's not just gonna roll over and be like, oh, I guess I'm not queen. Like, obviously that's not it.
Yeah, but I think I understood the point, or at least I guess I just think that like she is more aware of what it means than Jon is. Like, Jon, right, still thinks like, okay, well, it's not gonna come to open war between like us and you. Like, Sansa's not gonna kill you, whereas Daenerys is like, Sansa's going to plot to kill me. Like, I think she knows, or at least strongly suspects, that it's going to come to, what we all are now talking about maybe happening. So that's what I thought. I'm not saying she's inherently threatening him, the family. Like, I just think that she understands what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, and that's her reverting back to what she does to get things done. I mean, that's her style. That's how she does it. She says, if I'll give you a chance. If you don't take that chance, I'm going to burn you alive. Like, that's what I do. Like, that's my that's my move. Like, and I'm telling you right now, that's what I'm doing. So it's your choice. Like, she's been doing that, but like, that's just so anti-Jon. Jon, his big response is always like, well, I'll take the third option. That's his thing every time. It's, I'll take the third option.
He's like, can't we all just get along?
Right. Like, oh, well, let's just do the third option.
Mr. Rogers over here.
I can tell them and we all live together. Like,
yeah.
And I think it's...
And she's like, God, you're an idiot. You really think it's going to go like this?
Yeah. Well, historically, throughout the show, like, this has worked for him. Like, yeah, he got murdered.
Except that time that he got murdered. Back. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's a coincidence they brought that specific scene up in this episode of, hey, you got fucking murdered for this. Remember that? Yeah. Like, you fucking idiot. You got murdered one time. Like, you going to do it again? And it sounds like, yes, he is going to do it again.
Yeah, true.
This dining scene /
Oh, yeah, well, there's the Brienne and Jaime arc that went. And I'm going to be honest with you, the way they left Brienne fucking barefoot, naked, and crying, like, that's a bitch-ass move to leave my girl in.
Finally, they slept together. Okay, first
Right.
of all,
Yeah.
like, oh man, finally, after all this lead up to that, that was
Which is
poor Tormund. Oh my gosh, broke his little heart.
Oh, little Tormund.
Oh my
Oh, yeah.
gosh, he's so sad.
Tormund.
But yes, I agree. Once they left Brienne out there like that was awful. I hated that
it was
part.
like-
Stupid.
Well,
No.
I think that it made sense for Jamie. I just wish that it hadn't been all in one episode. Like, it would have made a little bit more sense to
Yeah.
draw it out, at least over two. Like, let it like
Right.
at the end of last episode or something. I don't know, because just doing it all in one seems too fan servicey. It's like, okay, we're gonna let this happen, but it can't really affect the narrative or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Put it all in one episode because what we really want is Jamie to do, XYZ in King's Landing. So we'll just have them fuck on this scene, and then that'll be it. It's like, it just wasn't. I mean, to say it wasn't satisfying is, it was nice because it's like, I don't know. I think a lot of people have been wanting, those characters to, have something happen and admit that, there's something between them, which is cool considering how they meet each other. But I don't know. It's way too fan servicey, way too quick. But it was still, it was still cool that they did let it happen, I guess, and that like it was a thing. But yeah,
And that they even went all the way into like, oh, now he's gonna stay here, blah blah blah. Psych, not that either. Like it's like did they really? Yeah, it was all of that little arc did happen way too quickly. It was silly.
Like,
And also, I feel like it would have been better
now he's not. Psych.
if like he had just left. Like I don't feel like we needed to like see that whole thing. Like
Right.
it's like you just see him riding off or something. It's like, oh, okay, fucking he ghosts her or whatever. Like it, like or something. But it's like, do we really have to have her be this like, oh, now that I've slept with him, I'm a pathetic girl.
Yeah.
I have
didn't
emotions. Like, come on with
Because
this.
she
Like,
hasn't been
she's-
that way the entire time. Like, why
Right.
would she be that way now?
Like, I mean, I get that she's in love with him and blah blah blah, but like, yeah, the way that they did that it was too lame. It was too
Yeah.
for her
They do
character.
a lot of stuff like that, unfortunately. So there was that, and then there was
Or just like her suiting up and being like, all right, well, I'm coming with you then. Like,
Right.
that
Well,
type of shit would be fine.
apparently, I read somebody criticize like saying that, but she was sworn to protect the Stark girls, so she's gonna stay with.
Oh yeah,
I get
she's
that.
still
I
doing
get that.
Yeah.
But Sansa would have definitely given her leave, though, I feel like.
Brienne comes to her quarters just like almost naked. Sansa, Lady Sansa, I need your permission.
Well, think about it. Yeah, I know. But think about, like, for Sansa's character, it makes sense. Like, I want eyes on the Capitol. Like, I want eyes inside the Capitol. So if you're beside Jaime and Jaime's beside Cersei, then perfect. That's exactly what I want. Go.
Mm-hmm.
No, Jaime's not gonna be beside Cersei, dude. There's no way. He's like, I think he's admitted, like, his whole thing was he was telling Brienne that he loves Cersei. Like, I get that, and that was like a brutal ass way to do it. But I think part of it is I just am not convinced that he's gone back like to just be with Cersei. Like, I mean, maybe I'd be really fucking disappointed if that's what happens. If he goes back, he's like, all right, you have my baby. Like, I want this to work. Like, I would be so upset. Like, oh my god, if that's the way it ends for Jaime. Like,
Yeah, it's too stupid, right? I agree.
Oh, he's definitely going to get to her. What are you
I
talking
think
about?
he's gonna
That's
kill her.
100% going to happen.
I still think
He's going to, like, find a secret way into
I think he's gonna kill
King's
her.
Landing the way he's been doing this whole time. Him and Tyrion know a million secret passages in. So he's going to get in there somehow. And then he's going to find out that fucking Cersei told Euron that it's her baby, or it's
Yeah.
his baby.
Yeah.
Jamie's going to freak out and he's going to kill her.
Kill her.
That's what I think will happen. And I don't like that. But
well, I think that he's gonna show up.
I like it if he kills her. Any way or circumstance that he kills her is fine with me. I don't care.
Legit, like he comes in on him, or like Euron's in the room or whatever, and they have
Mhm.
like Tyrion's essentially like, it's my baby, you know that it is, and she just lies to us, like, to both of, like, in the air. She's like, no, this is his, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then of course now he's there, and then of course Euron's like, oh, it looks like you need to leave, like classic, like, ha ha, and then hopefully Jaime fucking kills him. Like, that would be great, because Jaime, they keep making this whole thing. It's been episodes now of people referencing Jaime basically being too old, and he's only got one hand, and he sucks now. And there's this thing, like, somebody's like, oh, you couldn't kill me. Bron's like, you couldn't do it in your best day, and you're not your best day. Like, to have
Mhm.
Jaime cut Euron down would be pretty satisfying.
I believe he calls him a one-handed fucker.
Yeah.
That's what he calls them there.
I would still hate that Jaime went there to make up with Cersei. Like, that would still bum me out if that's really what he's doing. But if it did do a thing where he ends up killing one or both of them, guess I'd still be somewhat more okay with it, though. It's weak sauce to write Jaime's character in such
It is. Yeah, I agree. It's like after all of this, really, we're just gonna like, oh, I can't help it, I still love her.
Well, yeah,
like,
and that's funny is because I
dude.
was recently rereading the books, and again, I really try not to reference the books too much because I think they're very different. But at this point, it's like, I know you've mentioned Full Metal, but the other analogy I can think of is like in the comics. Like, there's an Infinity War comic, and then there's the Infinity War movie. Two different stories, same characters, same basics, but two different stories. And I think that's where we're at with this now. But yeah, like in the books, at the end of the Feast for Crows, Jaime gets a letter from Cersei. It's when she gets imprisoned by the Sparrows, and she's like, come help me, I need you more than ever, I love you, I love you, I love you. Says it 3 times, makes a point to say that, and he just like crumples that shit up, throws it in the fire. He's like, fucking act like this never happened, and he goes on his way. You know, like, that's the Jaime I like. You know what I mean? Not this, I'm addicted to this lady, like, and I can't give her up, like he's some kind of fucking crackhead. You know, it's just disappointing for that dude that's been so far to be like, oh, he's just a crackhead. Like, oh, I thought he was clean, but
her love is his drug.
He's just a crackhead.
As Kesha said.
Who's asking Brienne if she's got a VCR he can borrow?
Well, I appreciate him still. Like, I don't mind that part of him where if he feels that way, I just would hope that his character is written in such a way, like, what I would like to see his dialogue mean and colored as to Brienne as being like, I can't escape this cycle. Like, I mean, I did this for her. Like, I did all of these things, but I don't think he ever said because I love her. He said I did it to get back to Cersei. Like, he didn't say like, and I still love her.
He said for Cersei
or
something.
For Cersei. He's like, and I did, I killed my cousin to get back to Cersei, and yada yada. And I mean, of course, he means it at the time because he loved her. But I'm hoping that it's more of like he knows that he's just doomed in this, or he feels that he's just like doomed in this plot with her. And I'm hoping that he goes back and it's sort of like a reverse Black Widow scenario. I don't know, it's not exactly what you call it, but where he's just like, look, you're evil, I'm evil, or I'm fucked up, but like, you can't keep doing this, and then stab. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what I'd like to see, you know, like it's more like a tragic, like, and then maybe he kills himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
I could see something like that.
You know, because he's just like, you've done too many horrible things. I'm no better. We're ruining we've brought all the, like, our house caused most of this disaster, you know? Like, if not the grand majority of it through Cersei alone, you know? So that's the best I hope for Jaime, I suppose.
Yeah, well, we'll see where it goes. I'm not very happy with all that, but
in previous episodes has not turned out very well. We did not get to see what Bran was doing in Ravens. There's several things that did not
right. And I wanted to touch on one last thing of that first section of the episode before we move on to the war councils and political machinations that are going on. It's just the departures of Tormund, Sam, Gilly, and Ghost. I think they're all just kind of gone from the show now until maybe
I forgot about the Ghost part.
Yeah, until like the very, very end, they might just like work them back in or something. But I think all those dudes are gone. I really don't understand why Sam and Gilly are just leaving. I watched it twice and I missed the explanation for that.
Because they're having a baby.
Where are they going? Are they staying in Winterfell or are they going somewhere?
They're going to go live in dude, Gilly's from north of the wall.
She's from the north. Yeah, I guess they're going back
That
up.
is literally the worst place you should go to have a baby, though.
Not if that's where you're from.
No, I don't know if that's where they're going. I was making a joke, but it does seem to be kind of what.
Where else are they going to go?
They can stay in Winterfell.
Yeah, it was insane that they just left. I don't understand.
Yeah, like Bran is there. Sam and Bran hit it off really well. You know, they should be able to talk for a long time. Like, Winterfell needs workers and stuff, right? And like maesters and stuff.
His whole rest of his family's dead, right?
Well, yeah, but that's south. That's not north.
Well, how do we know where they're going?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I'm just saying, isn't that another option? Maybe they were going there.
Yeah.
I think
it just didn't say, right?
Yeah.
It seems like, okay, what happened here? Yeah, it was fine. I didn't have like a problem with it. Like, but I agree that
I was just confused. Not necessarily have a problem with
Well,
it.
wait,
Just
do we
confused
know
as to what the hell's going on.
for sure it was them leaving and not just them
Well,
saying?
see, that's what I'm saying. Is were they staying? I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know either.
Like, were they? Yeah, I initially
But
thought,
maybe it was
they're
just
gone.
John leaving.
But yeah,
and
now that
saying
I think
bye.
about it again, it might just be him leaving and them being like.
I couldn't tell.
But if that's the case, then John almost like knows he's not coming back. Then that scene means a little bit more. If Sam is there and they said that goodbye, that means one or both of them think he's not coming back.
Well, I think that
right?
Yeah.
Lots of characters have made mention that, like, well, okay, lots being Arya and the Hound have both made mention that they don't intend on coming back from King's Landing, and I think the Hound means it as in he's going to dive it.
Clegane Bowl.
Yeah, I think Arya means that it's like she's done with this part of her life. Like, she's going to go do whatever she's doing in King's Landing. Probably kill Cersei. I mean, I don't know if she actually is going to accomplish that. That'd be wild as hell if Arya gets both.
Yeah, Arya gets all the deaths.
Oh
baby.
my God,
and then she like turns around and kills
right?
Jon and kills Dany. Just like, it was crazy.
Going to go do it. That's what in her mind she's gone to do. There's no way. I mean, Cersei's on her list. Like, she's obviously, in my mind, has obviously left to King's Landing to kill Cersei.
Yeah.
So, but I think after that, like, I'm hoping we get some sort of plot reveal that, like, maybe the Stark siblings all made a plan and it's not just ended like clean cut. Like, I'm hoping.
Oh well, I'm gonna bring up a point about that in a second.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah. So still, I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about all that. But the goodbyes of that scene were fine. Like, I don't think Jon expects to come back. I don't think he expects to die. Maybe he does. I mean, Jon's always expecting to die, man. The dude's
he just lives in a constant state of brooding on death.
Yeah. So I mean, if it was Jon telling them goodbye and they're staying there, I agree with what Jared said. It makes a little bit more sense. But I absolutely thought that for some reason Sam and Gilly were leaving somewhere. But I guess
I did too. Like,
but
are they going back to the
wouldn't
wall?
Wouldn't he have said had a big bye with Sansa?
What?
Wouldn't he have had a big goodbye with Sansa then?
Right. Well, yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, you might be right. We're just not going to see Sam and Gilly again. No one ever hears from them.
Yeah.
Bye forever.
Yeah.
And I just... Sorry, go ahead, Cody.
No, I was just saying the only other thing is, like, Jon, could you please pet your fucking dog, dude?
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I hated that.
Now, one meta reason that I have for this is just like CGI budget is to write the wolf in and to have like it's different to just have the wolf in the shot. It's different to have the characters interact with the animal, like, because you'll notice that there was no wolf never interacted with a character on screen. It's just him on screen. That's all they ever have, and like they can go back and do that. But like if you're gonna have a character interact with him, you have to obviously shoot that. And so like just from a strictly CGI budget, like that makes sense. I don't like it. I think it's stupid. It's like, why would you have him there if you're not going to have the characters interact with him? And he's literally just pasted on the screen. Like, that's literally what you're doing right there. Why are you doing that? But yeah, that would be my explanation for that. And I think it's super lame. But
yeah.
And the one thing that I will give you about that is, and this is like a book nugget or Easter egg, is the dog's name or the wolf's name is Ghost, because it doesn't make a sound. It's never made a sound. It doesn't howl. It doesn't whimper. It doesn't do any of that. It's just completely silent. Even when it like moves and stalks people, it moves in silence. And it does whimper. It does like yip a little bit when Jon walks by. So like technically that would be the first time that wolf has ever made a noise in its life and like saying goodbye, you know?
Because he was so sad that his dad wouldn't acknowledge him.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I could figure out. But yeah, I thought that was super lame.
All right. So, by the way, a nice little piece of trivia here for you. I looked up the bastard surnames of Westeros, and so
oh, nice.
Gendry should have been a Waters, but he
Waters. That's right.
But he wasn't recognized at like his other, because it says something about he wasn't recognized like his half siblings. So for some reason, he took the because they didn't recognize it. Obviously, he was born in the Crownlands, but they didn't know that, so he'd been a Waters. So he was an unknown bastard raised in the Stormlands. So he was Gendry Storm. But his true bastard name would have been Waters, but his obviously true name or whatever is Baratheon.
Yeah. Interesting. That's what I'm saying.
So yeah, had he known a Baratheon bastard, he would have been Waters.
Okay. That's what I thought. I just thought something weird was going on. And then the last thing I'll say about these character departures before we move on is, do you think there's any significance to Tormund's last words there? He's like, you got the North in you, the true North.
The true North. I think took it to highlight like Jon's struggle, because in his mind, even though he is still a Stark, just not through Ned, and so thus still as much a part of the North, I think he's struggling with this thing. So when he has Tormund, who's this guy who like loves him and trusts him and is just like reveres him at this point, like, I mean, obviously thinks of Jon as like this mythological figure, even if in a buddy way, but he always gives him like rides a fucking dragon around, he obviously Jon's like this incredible dude. I took it to highlight like Jon's uncomfortableness with what's going on, because he's got this guy. It's like, think about like if you in your mind feel like you cheated to win a prize, and then somebody you really love and respect come up to you like, oh man, this guy's so good, like he won this thing and he did this, and you're the true this, and it's like, oh, and in your heart you're thinking like,
oh yeah, I can see what you
yeah.
Like he is a Stark, period. I mean, he's just not Ned Stark's son. So.
Yeah, I thought that's a good. I agree with that. Yeah, like, and him severing himself from Ghost also is just like him turning his back on the North, or the northern part of himself, maybe.
He's going south, man. I mean, we all know.
Right, and that does not normally work out.
Yeah.
But anyways, so moving on to this like kind of war council part of it, or just the middle part of the episode, doesn't necessarily have to be any particular thing. But I know that you mentioned Jon's last name a lot, him being a Stark. And if you guys didn't realize, the name of the episode is called The Last of the Starks, which I thought...
Ghost. That was a Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost saying, hey, I'm a Stark. But yeah, so the episode is called The Last of the Starks. And I think that's significant with that, just because, like, Jon's not a Stark anymore, technically. He's a Targaryen, like, especially now that he's told everybody it's out of his bag. Like, Arya straight up says, I'm not a lady, I never will be and never was. So she just wants to be Arya. She doesn't want to be Lady Arya, or, you know what I mean? Like, she's out. Bran straight up is like, I'm a fucking encyclopedia now. Don't talk to me. Like, so.
I'm downloading Port on the WeirNet right now.
Like, I'm watching two ravens go at it right now. Leave me alone. Quote unquote warging. Can a brother get a knock next time? I was warging in here. And so that leaves Sansa as like the last of the Starks, right? I mean, am I reading that wrong?
Tyrion straight up tells her that though, right? Because at that when they're talking, I can't.
Oh yeah, he does say that.
He's like Sansa, you do know that like you're Lady of Winterfell, or you will be when
you're the true power in the North.
Yeah.
Like it's like and he looks at her like to because the way he says it, he really does is like, you do know that, right? Which really reinforces the name of the show and your interpretation of it, where it's like you think there's 3 Starks alive, but really there's just one,
Right.
So, like, that's kind of how he meant it. Like, again, it's perfectly summed up in how Tyrion says it to her, which is, again, great credit to the actors. Like, it's like, he's like, hey, just in case you've forgotten, like, your brother is Wikipedia now. Like, your oldest brother is actually your cousin, and, no one, and God knows where she's at, and didn't even come to the party or say goodbye. Like,
right.
So that is a cool little. I didn't know the name of the episode because like
I didn't either. I didn't look at it.
Yeah.
Say on mine, or it didn't say on mine until after like it had been out. Maybe it was like lag or something, but it just says. Unfortunately, HBO people, it just says Game of Thrones episode 71. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a detail I picked up afterwards too. So that's why I brought it up. But
very cool. I didn't know that. That's a good one.
Yeah, and I will give this episode credit because I like the episode overall. I mean, I thought it was pretty good, but like it got back to what made the show good, like the interactions between characters, and like because you had two different Varys and Tyrion interactions, which were really good, I thought. And especially the one in Dragonstone. It's because like I feel like they're both right. Like neither one of them is wrong there, and that's where Game of Thrones is really good. And then but just to bring it back to what we were talking about, that Tyrion Sansa one, like that is Tyrion prying information out of her. Like that's good old fashioned Tyrion Lannister using his words to get something that he knew was there, but like she didn't want to tell him. Like she's struggling with it. She's not going to say anything. And then he just keeps at it. And eventually he's like, you do know you're in charge here. So if you feel like you need to tell me something, tell me. Like, and she's like, oh, right, I am in charge. Yeah. And so like that, I thought was really good. Like that's what this show is good at. Like, and that's what it should have been like. And that's what, I don't know. I mean, it's good at the battle stuff too, but I don't know. That's what I really like about the show, and I'm glad we got back to that.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. That's its biggest.
Back. Oh
man. Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
And he
is back.
One of our maybe our first episode or our second, where it's like he was just in the background just putting around, and I loved when Daenerys and the by the hearth and all that had gotten up and left the party, and then Varys is like the only one watching her. That to me said a lot, especially.
Oh yeah, I love that too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was cool, but I thought it was going to go the opposite, where he was going to like go and be comforting her and whatever, because he was the one who was seemingly paying the most attention to her. Where it was like the opposite. He's paying the most attention because he's most worried about her, you know, or
right?
Mostly like, okay, like, you know, I want this to work too, but because I do think that Varys is very upfront about his intents. I used to think, even when I liked him, that he was still lying, but I do think he's actually being honest. Like when he says he's for the realm and for the people, like we've not been shown anything else about him, because I kept expecting some twist. Like he's what's the secret?
There's a book plot where he's part of a secret conspiracy to bring back the Blackfires.
Right, the Blackfires. So it's like I kept expecting something with that, but we're not getting any of that, just to my knowledge. So,
well, it's funny that you say that, because I think they are merging Jon to Aegon. Like, it's a little on the nose here. Aegon the Sixth is the pretender, the fake dragon in the book. That's his name's Aegon, but like he has a separate storyline, and I think they've taken Jon and like combined those two. Because then there's like Cersei brings in the Golden Company, but there's question about the Golden Company's loyalty. Like, are they just going to flip their loyalty to the Targaryen, like to the Blackfire? And so it's too much to explain right now. But yeah, I think they are merging that storyline with Jon right now. But sorry, go ahead.
So would this character be Jon's brother? It's another.
So what the Aegon in the book is supposed. So Elia and Rhaegar had 3 kids. Dany was one of them. Viserys is one of them, I think. And Aegon is one of them, maybe.
Here, because this is not, I guess, to do. I'm just curious.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Well, basically, yeah.
I mean, I do, but like not really, and like I'm not gonna understand it in the next few minutes. So
it doesn't matter.
Sorry.
To have more twists, I mean, he has lots of twists, but I actually need him to have one like that Blackfire twist. Still may, I guess, with this Golden Company thing or whatever. But even so, like I'm so happy, like you're saying, the political intrigue is back. Like I mean, I like the mystical magic fight scenes and the dragons and all that, but you're right. Like their writing in general is way better when it's these snippets of dialogue and who knows what and who's going to get the up on who, not like who has the spear that hits the dragon in the heart. Like
the thing with Varys is like he is, no matter what his actual alliance is towards, and if whether or not there is a twist with him or not, like he's just so like paying attention to every single thing. He knows more about all these people than anyone else does, except maybe Bran. You know,
well, and what's relevant about
and by just like good old fashioned observing, you know, not like, you know.
And what's relevant about that book plot though in regards to this is he is Dany's advisor, but we as the audience know that he's actually supporting Aegon, like the fake Aegon. So like his loyalties are going to flip to the. So it's like you can almost see that happening here. He's Dany's advisor, but his loyalty is going to flip to Jon because he sees Jon as the better ruler.
Well, he doesn't even seem like he's ever really been that loyal to her, honestly. Or maybe
that's his
back
whole
in
character.
the day, but lately he hasn't. You know.
I mean, he admits like he's not loyal to anybody. He's loyal to the realm.
Yeah.
Which I like about him, which though Tyrion, of course, is. Like Jared was saying too, like Tyrion is also right. Like you have to believe in people. You have to give them a chance. If your trusted advisors are constantly flipping on you, and like that's like especially Varys being as important as he is, like it's not Tyrion could just as well have said like, dude, you're not just some guy. Like you are her high council. Like you can't their loyalties. Like you're not.
Like, she needs you right now, and you're leaving her.
Yeah.
You want her to like you swore to like make this work, not like you swore until you found someone who you thought would be easier to make better. And I mean, parents, of course, argue like, dude, yeah, you're right, but I want the kingdom to be like the best it can be. So fuck whatever I said. Like I would appreciate that response, and it's beautiful that like you can't necessarily I can't necessarily straight up agree with either of them because if Dany is going to be like a terrible ruler, then of course, like. Because that's his point. No amount of counseling is going to change her. That's what Varys is saying. Whereas Tyrion's like, but are you sure? And Varys is like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like it doesn't seem likely. Varys isn't like, oh, Dany, she's getting hard to work with. Like, I'm going to stop. Like, screw her. Like, I think his point is a little bit more noble. He's like, no, she is in fact a lost cause. Like, we are in fact supporting a tyrant. Like, so.
And he's speaking from experience too. I mean, that you kind of sometimes people forget that, but like he was counsel to the Mad King Aerys, and like he saw that happen, and he didn't do anything, and like he knows what it's like to have a fucking Mad King, and and he'll do whatever
responsible for that.
Yeah, and he'll give his life to make sure that never happens again. And it's like, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Tyrion just making the point where, what like. Do you think this world is always just going to have perfect leaders? Like that's why people like me and you exist, is because we can temper these things. Or I don't know, yeah. But I loved that they got back to it. Even the boat episode or the boat scene where he's like, like I'm Varys. It's like I'm worried about her state of mind, and he's like worrying about her state of mind is our job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a really clever line, really cool line.
I thought when those two on that scene were talking about like, well, what, moving forward, blah, 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 like, how should we have it? Like, what's the best case scenario? It got so weird. It was like, because, we're getting to the part where everything is starting to wrap up. These things are becoming real, but it's like we, like, as fans have been speculating about all this stuff for so long that, like, we've had these conversations, and now it's like the actual characters having that conversation in the show. So it's like, oh my gosh, like you're talking about this thing that we've been speculating about for so long or whatever. I mean, of course, they're still speculating too. It's not like come to a head, like, okay, they roll together or, whatever, something like that. But it's just, I just thought it was funny a few times. It was like almost like listening to somebody else talk about the episode, but it was the actual characters doing it,
What if we did this? Yeah, you're right. It was it's a conversation that like the three of us have probably had. Like, well, what if they just get married? Well, what if, it's like Tyrion's just listed like looking for any I think that I mean, I don't know if that it is still kind of funny.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on to the last part, which we'll get to that. I just do want to mention two things in particular, just about the Starks in general. One, again, this is just a nitpicky thing, but it frustrated me when I heard it. Is Bran's just a little dialogue he had says, Tyrion comes in and says, "Oh, hey man, I like your wheelchair," and he's like, "Yeah, I did too. It was the one that Homeboy did. I liked this one." And then in the very same conversation, Tyrion's like, "Well, what do you want?" And he's like, "I don't really want anymore." And it's like, well, then how do you like the chair, motherfucker? Like, if you don't have likes and human wants and stuff,
Yeah, you're right.
like that doesn't, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, as much as that's why I gave it a refrigerator glow.
I
I mean, I'm serious.
you could even say that a refrigerator glow is very stark and white.
Yeah, white light, like, because you're right. Like, and I even said it's maybe a bright refrigerator light. Like, I enjoyed it. I legitimately enjoyed the episode, but the writing is still splotchy as hell. And
Yeah.
right, like it's like
Yeah.
for a
It
second.
dimmed the lights a little bit.
Yeah, and it's like
Had little holes.
And then Bran says something dumb like that, and you're like, "Oh, you got me a little bit there." And then you're like, oh, "Okay,
Yeah.
this seems kind of cool." And then there's like another little thing, and it's like, ah.
Because it's like, yeah, that would have been good if he didn't have that wheelchair first
Right.
or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this guy's like beyond human once or whatever. Okay, cool.
And then he's like, "Oh, but I love this wheelchair."
yeah.
I love the wheels.
That's like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, oh, I don't care about money, but I got these fucking
Well, what were they even talking about?
$200 shoes.
He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not really into castles, but I love wheelchairs." So
And I get it. If we had more time, and this is well, never mind. I'll save this point for later, like in a wrap up or something. But yeah, I just think that Bran's storyline, I've come to really think it's been majorly cut for this time. Like, I kept thinking we're gonna get some more, and I just really don't think we are.
yeah, I don't think so. I think they already explained him away. He's like, "I lived most of my time in the past," and it's like, and then he gets wheeled away, and we never hear from him again.
I mean, maybe not literally never.
I just
but-
wish they'd at least told us what he was doing that last time. Or
Yeah.
given us some kind of little thing.
And
Like,
not to touch too much on what happened, but I have heard that he was almost like supervising and making sure things were going the way that they should have gone.
yeah.
And had something gone off track, he would have intervened, but he never had
But
to.
no one knows that.
I know, I get that.
That's what I thought too. I mean,
But-
in my head, speculation, that's what I thought
Headcanon or
too. But
whatever.
like, I just want them to tell us that that's what happened. Or
Yeah.
give us some kind of clue.
Well, there's also
about it.
stuff like how theoretically he knows everybody's plans, right? Because if he can look into the past, he can just look into their room when they made their fucking war plans. Like, he could just be in the room when Cersei and Euron and whoever his armies made their plans. Because if they did them the day before, if Bran can see all of history, he can just like, oh, okay, I'll just go and watch Cersei for the last 24 hours, and I'll know exactly what she's gonna do. And so it's stuff like that. Like, I think I read a thing the other day where George R. R. Martin has even said so much that things like the dire wolves and Bran and certain things have like gotten him like in very hard writing corners where, you know, like he wants, say, Jon to be vulnerable in a fight, but Ghost is around, so
Right.
you know, so he has to write Ghost away, or he has to explain why. So like, I think that happened in the shows. Like, all of these really obvious things, it's like Bran's just way too powerful to use logically. Like, he's way
Mhm.
too powerful. And so they just don't explain it and they don't get into it, because if they did, it's
Just make it worse, make it more
Right.
muddled, more muddy.
And I think, you know, it being in the book, like being inside his head works for a book, but like
Right.
to watch it, it's really weird because it's like, yeah, he wouldn't just be out here like chatty Cathy, like fucking talking about everything that he's thinking or something. You know,
Yeah,
that would be
and it's
really
the same,
stupid, right?
Analogy for like Dune and Paul. Like, that's why
Right.
that's so hard to capture, is because a lot of that is just internal struggle. And
Mhm.
like, how do you put that into film? And like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then, yeah, then just talking about Sansa real quick. She's just like, I don't know where this character, like, she's just like the new Cersei, like, just ruthless, like, because again, my issue with her in this episode is and we've talked a little bit, and I can kind of see the counter response to it now, and I can buy it a little more, but like, she is in the Godswood. They're all talking about how important family is, and John's like, I'll tell you, but you have to swear. They say, how can we do that? You know, and then he just looks at them and says, because you're family. That's what we do. Like,
Mhm.
I'm asking you this, and it's unfair, but I'm asking you to do it because we're family. And they both accept it. He tells, and then immediately she betrays that trust. Like, she immediately betrays the family trust. And it's
Mhm.
like, does she care about family or does she not? Like, is she just using it as a tool, as a political tool to like get what she wants, or is she actually a good person like trying to do the right thing. You know what I mean? Like,
I think in her head she's trying to do the right thing, and she just thinks that that's more important than like his trust at the moment, and that eventually he'll come to find, like turn around and be like, I'm glad you did this for me, blah blah blah. I think that's, I mean, in at least, I guess that's just total speculation, but that's what it is in my head. It's like she has a much larger plan for it, and she's like, I mean, it was hard for her to say she was going to promise in the first place. You could almost tell she didn't want to, like from the get-go. It was like kind of crazy on his part. Again, naive John to be like, oh, okay, yeah, like, sure, she's not going to do it,
Whew, thank God she said yes.
Yeah,
all right,
she said yes, she had promised. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I agree it was brutal, but I think it wasn't like an evil plan or something. I think it was like she has it for, I think she really thinks she's doing the right thing, like for the kingdom or whatever,
So
I hope.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I look at Sansa two ways. Like, if you want to look at her in the way that I give her the most credit and the way that I think she's supposed to be given the most credit, which is playing the game, then I think it was extremely intentional. And she was very much in charge of, like, she never intended on keeping that secret. I mean, maybe it shows her of being conflicted or whatever, but we don't see that in the show. And so far, all these times when we've been like, oh, well, in the next episode, it'll show that, what Bran did in the Ravens, or it'll show, Sansa being conflicted, or it'll show what they said to each other at the Godswood when Bran explained. Like, I don't think that's the case. Like, we have to take it at face value, which is Sansa immediately betrayed Jon. I mean, immediately. And I don't think it's because
right. Like, it was like right. I was like right after it. I was like, what the fuck's going on?
Like, I don't think it's because she's bad though. Like, I think I'm more on Jess's, or not side. I don't even know what your side would be, but I'm like, I think she in her mind is she does view Jon as family. It's not that she doesn't, but it's like, she's got so much Cersei and of these other players in her where, Cersei says to Ned before, he dies, which is, or before they capture him or whatever, which is, in the Game of Thrones, you play or you win or you die. And so that's where she's at. She's in her mind, she's like, look, like, we're winning, period. Like,
and I think also that thing that Dany said about, this is going to have a life of its own, blah, blah, blah.
Rich, Stark asshole, paint me as a villain.
She is thinking that too. Sansa is thinking that too. She knows that too. And she's almost like, this news, Jon, like, I know it's about you and this is your life, but like, it's bigger than that. Like, right. You know what I mean? Like, and she wants to take that out into she wants this to get to Varys, aka Game of Thrones Twitter.
Right.
And, like, have it take its own life. Yes. And so Jon will be king. That's what she...
Like, I read this great little theory, and this is on Reddit, so you guys have seen it, but it's basically that, and if I need to give somebody credit here, if the poster cares, we'll call it out, but, some people get all, but it's like that Sansa essentially, like, it was a more or less like a Littlefinger-esque plot, like, she knew, she knew if she told Tyrion would tell other people, and yada yada. So she, of course, sets the defense in motion. And then, of course, this person on this poster, and I don't necessarily believe this, but wrote that Sansa could have sent a raven to Cersei afterwards and told her that where Dany was coming and when. So that explains the later ambush, even though the ambush itself was completely outrageous. Like, Dany should have seen them from miles away as high she was, but they were behind a tiny little cliff, so apparently she didn't. So whatever. But
yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But like, so the theory being that Sansa has like essentially orchestrated this whole episode's end, where
that's very Littlefinger-esque. I mean, that's something he would.
Definitely, she learned from him a lot.
Yeah, to her, like, this poster again goes out to say, none of this is my idea, but I think it's an incredible point of view where neither Cersei or Dany is going to let the North be sovereign. So to her at the time, that's what she's thinking about. But Cersei doesn't have two dragons, so in this ambush,
that's why she's staring at those dragons like, what the fuck am I going to do with these things? Like,
she knows that, like, as long as she's under the thumb of these dragons, Like that's because, like you said earlier, that's the real source of Daenerys' power. It's not like the people are going to come and pull Sansa apart and draw and quarter her for killing Dany. Like the dragons will if Dany's still alive, or if they're still alive. But
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So like I like this, and I don't know if that's the way they're going to play it, but I would not be shocked. And to me, that plays to the idea that Sansa is this ultimate player, and that's what the show keeps trying to say. But they haven't really shown us like her making schemes in the way that Littlefinger did, or the way that Cersei does. And if she did do that, that does show that like Sansa is now playing the game with the tier of the best that have ever played that we've seen or that are currently playing.
Right.
I think that's like the right move, but that is a
that would be interesting for the future too between her and Jon. You know, if Jon found that out, he'd be like, literally, what the fuck,
yeah, like,
dude?
what the hell is wrong with you?
Like,
yeah.
But that's a very un-Northerner and a very un-Stark thing to do if you take the Starks to be...
Yeah, if, like, Jon takes the fucking capital or whatever and gets into Cersei's private quarters and finds a letter or something, yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Like, can you imagine? What if the big twist, dude, is that, like, not that Sansa turns evil, but that Sansa's the one that essentially kind of throws the plot into disarray. It's not Dany, like, you know, not necessarily like that could be, it could be a cool little twist. I don't know.
Yeah, it is interesting at least.
That would be. I would. That a lot more shit makes sense that way.
Because like we even said, like the thing that the like last Kungla, we said that when Sansa finds out about Jon, that's the like the powder keg, and I still think that's true. We just theoretically didn't see it, but like, what if we did? You know?
We're seeing all of the things around it, which is exactly what they did in the first season.
It did make a point also in this episode where it's like all these shitty things that she went through. It's like, well, you know, if it hadn't been for Ramsay and it hadn't been for fucking what's his name? Well, yeah, and his that little asshole that she was married to.
Ramsay.
Oh yeah. And yeah, just her whole horrible life, basically, she would still be a little bird. And so it's like,
Joffrey.
You know, it made really sense to like bring that out if it turns out that she did something very planned, manipulative, blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, and I think
playing the game.
That comparison is on purpose too. A little bird versus a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not going to be afraid of the little bird, right? Only the little birds delivering messages, tweeting in people's ears, like saying this, darting around here, staying out of the view. It makes sense. I like that. I like everything about that.
And that she even wouldn't even like. It's like, no, I don't even wish that I didn't go through that. You know, because I want to be who I am now. Like, fuck it.
Yeah, I still really like Sansa's character. No matter how she turns out, I hope that they don't let her writing fall flat and whatever, because they have tried to like build her up, and she's taken so long to build up that she does deserve some sort of big finale because you know she was a girl and then she was like a prisoner and she did go through it. So you see her in these scenarios and she's not really getting her comeuppance. So she's not, that's not the right word. Comeuppance is like the bad thing, right? Like she's just not getting what she's
no comeuppance is good.
Whatever, yeah. I guess you can say it either way, but still I guess she kind of does. She becomes sort of Lady of Winterfell or whatever, but it just doesn't seem like enough. So for her to have, better or worse, like this huge part to play in the last battle, great, versus her just being sort of some sort of plot.
Well, thematically, I've always thought that it's like to understand Sansa's character, you really, really like the thing I really key in on is her losing her direwolf like in the second episode or something like that. Like I think that's just really important to understanding her character. Like she lost all of her Starkness right then and there, and like it gets replaced with something else, like whatever it gets replaced with, like good, bad, but like she loses her connection right then and there, and like you have to understand that to understand her character as a whole. And like this is what we're talking about here, is like it's not very Stark to fucking lie to your brother, you know, and like, you know, do the things that we're talking about she potentially could be doing. Those are not Stark things, but like it makes sense. That's what that emptiness was filled with. Like when, you know, like, and so, yeah, I think she's maybe one of the better written characters. But anyways,
but that's right. You're right. She does deserve like some, you know, some kind of really good ending. Like, yeah, if that's just it, like I don't know. Yes.
But moving on to the end here, and just Rhaegal getting
Oh
fucking
god, I hated
plucked
that
out of
so
the sky.
much. I couldn't even watch it.
Oh
really.
my god, that was
I had to like turn them in.
I had
that's
hands
not
over my mouth, like out of my seat, like, oh my god.
I hated that.
Because it's just like the music is playing, like Dany's music, her Dragonstone music. They see Dragonstone, ancestral home of the dragons. The dragons feel comfortable there, and then just boom! Oh, I thought that was
It was
effective.
so brutal.
Oh my god, sorry. That's
No, you're good. Whoa!
Whoa.
I was angry.
Yeah, the direwolves do not like the
They didn't like
dragons
that.
dying.
It's male and
It was so sad. I just hate seeing dragons get killed in movies, even though they're not real.
so I'll just have you guys know for all of this is very Game of Thrones relevant. So I live in a basement apartment, and I have a package, and they set it at the top of the stairs going down into my apartment, and in true Game of Thrones fashion, kicked it down into my stairwell. So that was great. that was something that just happened.
Your dogs were trying to make the point. They're like,
Yeah.
mention this. It's good.
Yeah. Sorry, I know that's obviously completely relevant to the plot. I thought that would be great. for
Yeah.
right now.
That's funny.
But I don't know. I mean, we
And
can
they
talk
have
about.
so many of those dragon killing things now.
Yeah, the scorpions.
That's really
Oh,
scary.
For your boy Gendry, like I'm telling you, why would so you're on? He thinks he's got a prince. He thinks he's got Cersei. He thinks he just blasted a dragon out of the sky. So in the preview of the next episode, obviously some sort of dragon or something comes out, and he looks slightly nervous. Like he didn't look nervous when they came across there. I'm saying dragons and armor. Drogon has got a full suit of armor. Come on, give it to me. I need it.
Oh, that would be sweet.
I need
Yep.
it. I
That would
need
be good.
Gendry to have created dragon armor. I need it so bad. Like I don't know that that's going to happen, but I mean, because you're right, they have so many of those things, and they just blasted Rhaegal out of the sky like it was nothing, which is a whole other thing. I mean, there's no way.
I'm curious, how you guys feel about just the idea of that, because, like,
how easy it was.
yeah, like.
Well, he was already injured.
For 8, I know, yeah, and this is where it's like he was injured, and it was an ambush, so like, and they're like coming on Dragonstone, so you're thinking that they're thinking like, okay, we're fine here, we don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But like for 8 seasons, these things are just like atom bombs, and now they're just not like.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but before that one scorpion that they had before, no one's ever had a weapon like this. So it's like there's really been nothing
that's not
to compare.
true. Like, I guess again, this is where show and book canon they're like at odds with one another, because the whole thing with Aegon the Conqueror is he had 3 dragons and like an army of like 3,000 people, and he just conquers entire Westeros because he has those dragons. Like, he just literally melts a castle, like melts the stone castle down. Like, that's how. And Drogon is supposed to be like as big and kind of the second coming of Balerion, which is Aegon's dragon.
100 years old, and like and Drogon is like 8.
Mm-hmm. I get that. I understand that. But like, these are supposed to be just like weapons of just like, why doesn't he just fucking burn? Like, the dragon fire is supposed to be so hot. Why doesn't he just burn the fucking scorpion arrows out of the sky? Like, he should be able to do that. Like, he should be able to like crisp those motherfuckers.
No,
True.
I thought that when Dany was charging in and she was looking like that, I thought that was what's going to happen 100%. I was like, oh my god, like it looks like she's going in for a suicide dive, but she's like, Drogon's just going to blast the arrows out of the sky is what's about to happen. I 100% thought that, and then when it didn't, I was very disappointed, because you're right, that should have been a thing.
Or on the castle, like the ones on the castle wall, it's easy. You just fly up to where they can't get you anymore, and you come back down over them. Like, you just fly out of range.
Yeah,
and it's like
bomb in the center and you just fucking blast them. Yeah.
But I think that is what they're going to do. I think Dany's going to come back with a real vengeance and like really fuck some shit up.
Yeah. Yeah, they just killed her kid.
Right.
She's
yeah.
pissed.
Because now she's only got one.
You don't kill my baby.
But like, it's the biggest and most powerful, and she's pissed off. So it's like,
yeah. But I just really think that dragons have been better treated than the direwolves. But it's like you get all this, like, because I think that's what you were kind of saying earlier, Jared. They get all this screen time and all this discussion, and everybody being like, "Oh my god, like 3 dragons!" Like, I mean, literally, yeah. Like we were conquered. An entire kingdom was conquered by just so much as that. Only a couple, like a generation and a half ago, 2 generations ago, or whatever. And they had 3,000 men. Daenerys has, what was it supposed to be, like tens of thousands of soldiers. And it's just like, way to blow a fucking 28-0 lead, like.
Yeah.
It is true, though. It is true, dude. They're just jacking up half-court shots.
I mean, outrageous.
But I mean, there is something to be said for actual weapon technology advancing really quickly. Right. I mean, in real life, look at us. Like, look where we've come in the last, like, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years. Like, like, it kind of, it's somebody created a thing that now can kill a dragon.
Like, yeah, and like no one had done it before. Taking a dragon down, that's cool. Like, even if it's him just doing an incredible javelin throw, like, maybe he was an Olympic star at some point. Like, maybe. I don't know.
It would also make more sense why it was so deadly if there was a history of dragons and White Walkers explained, even though it makes sense, fire and ice. But he seems to have anti-dragon technology, and I mean, have you seen a dragon before? Like,
Ice World, he has anti-dragon technology.
What I'm saying is, it seemed like he was like, "All right, man, I'm ready for this weapon that seems purpose built to just strike a dragon out of the sky." Because you're right. He just didn't. It's not like he seemed like new at it. He was ready to do it, and
like that was the plan, And then you get like, and now Euron's on that level. Like you're like fucking Jack Sparrow wannabe is on that level. Like
even that, like at least Euron like understood that they were coming. I mean, theoretically. The White Walkers had no idea that the Targaryens had dragons, right? I mean, why would they? Like, they weren't there when all this happened with the Children of Men and all this. Like, I mean, I guess you could explain it away, and we don't need to get off onto that debate in this episode right now. But good Lord, so many things about the writing right now. But anyway, yeah, Rhaegal dying like he did, I thought was it was well done. Like, the surprise of it was kind of cool. It wasn't like you didn't get a chance to be like, oh my God, he's gonna go down. He just got shot down. So I thought it was. I mean, it was effective as far as drama goes, but,
Well, even I'm going to contend with that, too, because they play up the whole episode like he's got a damaged wing, and then, like, the damaged wing really doesn't factor. Like, it's the surprise of it that factors, not that he's hurt. Like, he just never gets a chance. Even with 2 good wings, he would have been fucking taken down,
on Drogon and just gotten blasted the same,
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Or I guess if he was full health, then Jon is writing him and things turn out differently or whatever. But
yeah, that's probably the whole point. Is that it's for Jon not to write him, which that's also,
dumb.
Just a cheap way to get that done.
Yeah, like Tormund calls that shit out himself. But I think, I think that though is just to like widen the gap between Jon and Dany. Like Jon could do that, like, and Tormund is saying that, and like he is pointing it out, and it is obvious that, but like Jon wants the space, he wants the distance.
Yeah,
like he wants to be away from him.
Too, I think he's wanting to be seen as like how he was. He doesn't want to be seen as the dude
right.
Yeah,
he's
riding bitch.
That's another good point. Yeah,
on a dragon.
Can we talk about how Missandei is the only character who seemed to have got captured? Like how convenient that was.
Yeah, how did they just not like?
Well, again, if it plays out like it says it does, he says get to the skiff, which is like an escape boat. Right. So then her escape boat would have been just kind of out there on its own. They would know not to attack that if that is a prize target. Like there's a lot of ifs there, but it does kind of loosely make sense. But
I wasn't thinking about her getting onto the skiff. I was just thinking like if she's in the water with everybody else seemed to just got to the shore. But you're right, she was probably just in a boat.
Yeah,
it does make sense.
And I also do like how just in that scene in general, like this return to Dragonstone, like take that entrance to the one at the beginning of last season where she first gets there and this is big army and like they're landing on Dragonstone and she's retaking the throne and it's like a big triumphant moment of her landing back in Westeros. And then like compare that to this where here she's trying to get that same feeling of like we're coming home again. We're back to our ancestral home. Like, our army's about to land. We're about to end this war. Like, only them landing on the beach is literally in pieces now. Like, their ships are floating to the shore. Like, it's literally in pieces, you know? And I think the comparison between that return versus this return is like, was hopefully on purpose, but you know, I thought it was a nice like dichotomy of where she was then and where she is now, which also helps to explain her state of mind. It's not like she's just crazy, you know. It's like, well, look at the two situations here. Like, she was triumphant and had like, of course she's going to be more open to ideas. Of course she's going to be more open to advisors. Of course she's going to be like, all right, let's not just burn them down. Whereas now, take all of that shit, strip her down of all of those things, like take away her children, and like she's not so open to negotiations anymore. You know what I mean? And I think that those two returns really speak a lot to where she is at the end of the episode. Like just standing there, cold, dead eyes, like, well, not dead eyes, but just like dead stare as Missandei gets her pretty head chopped off.
God, that was brutal. I thought for a second, did you guys think that Tyrion was about to die? I really did.
Yeah.
I was like, he's about to get dead right here.
Well, and again,
like literally, his sister should fucking kill him.
Is like, been shot down. After Missandei gets cut down, he should have been shot down. Like,
well, not to mention the cliffhanger thing of that ship falling down on his head.
Yeah, the fake ending of the episode.
The fake.
That was bullshit.
Oh my god! Like what? Can we just remember that? Ending. Oh, Tyrion's about to get blasted on the head with this big fucking wooden thing. Psych, he's just crawling up on the beach with everybody else.
Psych, he dove under the water.
Yeah. It's petty drama. No, the thing with them coming to parlay or allegedly with Cersei is, I understand because they're, you know, they've urged Daenerys to try to offer peace to Cersei, and so arguably Cersei has agreed to meet in the situation because of, you know, I mean, there's obviously, because I've heard some people saying like, well, they were actively at war, like there's no reason why as soon as they walked up they should have just bolted Drogon down, because obviously their bolts can get that far because they seen to earlier Drogon wasn't that far away, and just mowed Tyrion and Dany all down. Like, why would they not? Like they, you know, they're at war. Like, they just attacked their ships and slaughtered, you know, tons of their army.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not like negotiating right now, but you know,
like negotiating on Dany's side makes sense. Negotiating on Cersei's side doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so like why Cersei would have agreed or whatever, and it doesn't show it, so we never get to know, which is another bad writing. Like, if you want it to make sense, you have to make it make sense. So we're just left to assume that there was negotiations of, you know, we're going to surrender, you're going to surrender, whatever or not. But I don't know. Like,
it's like a cat playing with a mouse or something. It's like Cersei just loves this, dragging it out, kind of.
I mean,
I'm just trying to give the writers some leeway here, because she is that much of a bitch that this is like her whole thing. She loves it. She loves being definitely super bitch.
That's her thing.
Like,
you know, so, but Missandei dying, I thought was sad, of course, because it's brutal, but it's also more lazy writing because it's like. It is, man. They didn't kill her because it was logical. Like, other characters in the past died because it was logical. That's why Ned died. That's who I always go to. Like, Ned's death is the prototype for the show. Like, he died because he should have died in real life. Like, he was a great guy doing the right thing, but in a den of vipers, and he got bit. Like, that's what happened to Ned. Like, Missandei died because they needed somebody, a love interest who's not too important and too beloved to people because they don't want to offend or hurt anybody's feelings or get criticized too heavily. And so they needed somebody like that to die. So, Missandei, she never gets that much screen time, but people like her, but she's not Grey Worm, and we didn't kill that many characters in this previous battle, so somebody's got to die for some emotional impact. Like, that's why it was Missandei. It wasn't because it made sense. It wasn't because it was furthering the plot, aside from who enraged Daenerys. Like, any number of people could have died in better ways than enraged Daenerys. Like, it's just lazy writing. Like, there was no logic to it. It's like, okay, we're going to cut to black with Tyrion seemingly bonked on the head. Now, when we're going to cut back to scene, and we need somebody important to kill later with Cersei. So who do we want to be captured? Oh, well, we don't have it for the balls for it to be Tormund or something who surprise came back, or let's make it Missandei. Like, it's just, I don't know. It doesn't. Well,
I will contend with that for one point is that, like, she's Dany's last like advisor, like, and in the scene,
and it further isolates Danny.
Yeah, and if you think about it in context with the scene of in those crypts with Sansa, Tyrion, and Missandei comes in and says, "Yeah, but you'd all be dead without her, so watch your fucking mouth." Like,
well, that's true.
Like, that presence and that force in the council room is not there anymore. So, like, it further puts Danny in a corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I don't feel like I thought too much about that side. I just was like, man.
And her point of really being freed by her and believing that she's free, you know, like working voluntarily for her or whatever. Because all those people now are gone, right? Like, there's not just like, I mean, there who else is gonna be that like previous slave now or whatever?
The breaker of chains,
100% on her side. Well,
that's
and also could set up Grey Worm to just like fucking kill Cersei. Right. I mean, I doubt that's gonna happen. I'm just saying, like, who knows?
Like, this idea of deriving power from the people, like Missandei was an example of that, like of her.
Exactly.
And now that aspect of it's gone. Yeah.
Can we take that death as being symbolic for Daenerys going to turn on that because she's going to raise the city of people she's allegedly going to save, which is what everybody's terrified.
Yes.
That's a good.
And it's in a simple answer. Yes.
I appreciate that a lot more than because I was really just looking at it as like, man, that's such a like it was a cheap. I mean, she was a great character. Like I liked her, but I just felt like they chose it just because it was easier than say killing, you know, Sam or something like for some reason to them. Like, but maybe your guys are right. Like, it's a lot. There is a lot of like with the symbolism of like, you know, now because I mean they even straight up say it in the show like you're going to kill these people and you're supposed to be saving them, and she ends up being like, yeah, like I am. So get ready. So,
yeah.
you know,
right,
she's
exactly.
like, but it's gonna look like it's Cersei's fault. But yes. Still, I'm gonna do it, 100%. Yeah.
Because if you think of the whole show as like 3 camps being divided into 3 camps now, there's the Danny camp, Jon camp, and the Cersei camp. Like Danny has lost all of her like people. Like she has Wormy. That's all she's Wormy and Drogon. Oh, and Tyrion. Yeah, Tyrion's pretty
ride or die.
What's that?
Do you think Tyrion's gonna stay loyal though?
Yeah, I think he's gonna go down being loyal.
Interesting. I hope.
Loyalty.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. I feel like we've been talking for like 5 hours.
Well, hopefully we have, because I feel like
I'm just kidding. No, what else do we have to say? Anything about Cersei?
Well, I mean, Cersei's shit makes sense. Like, she's one of the characters that's written really well. Like, and like, if I have one issue with where we are in the season and where we've come so far, is like a lot of the characters aren't acting the way I feel like they should be acting. When you reference the rest of the seasons, but at the same time, I'm still enjoying it. Like, I'm still like into it. It's just, again, some of it's not making sense, but like stuff like, and if we want to do like conclusionary shit here, I don't know if that's a word, I just made it up, but like, I think Cody, you mentioned Ned earlier about how his death was so significant, and like Ned and Sansa, like being this kind of cycle, this one, like, because Ned's big fatal flaw here is he's like an honorable man and he sticks to his honor, and like, you know, but like when it comes to his family, that's where he breaks and starts making mistakes and shit. And like Sansa, here she is in that same episode, like, I can be loyal to my family, or I can play this game and get us further. Like, which one am I going to do? Like, am I going to make the same mistake my father made and I saw him lose his head for it? Like, or am I going to do what I think is right and play this game the way I think it should and get us further, you know? And like that, like that's typical. The way that they can do that is awesome. It's just like, I think that in this season, they're using all of the credit that they built up in those last seasons, and they're just like running on credit right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because
like, if you were to take each season individually and watch them as an individual thing, like, this is probably going to be one of the worst ones. Like, if you had, you know, granted it's the last one, so there is a lot of backstory. Just seasons, like Game of Thrones seasons, like in and of themselves, like a season as a story. Like, you can watch each one of those individually and be okay with where you are. But I think if you were to watch this one individually, it'd be like, some of this does not make sense. Like, you know what I mean? Granted, again, it's the last episode of fucking 80 episodes, so it's building on something, but you know, that's kind of, but lastly, I'll just say I like this Game of Thrones better than Big Battle Game of Thrones. So like,
Yeah,
this episode is more what I like the show for than
Mhm.
last one was.
I agree.
I almost wish we had seen a little bit more of Cersei's inner, like what's going on with her. Because I mean, surely that's gonna happen more next time.
Well, we've only got
But
2 episodes, so
it's like, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
we just keep seeing her like standing there, like, or talking to Euron or whatever. You know, it's like what's her actual plan? Like, what's her? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
what's,
Lena Headey's face is really good.
just kill everyone. I mean,
that's her plan. She's on pure. I think her entire. There's no bigger motive. She even so much told Jamie before he left, which was like, let's just like essentially hide out. Like, let's retreat, pull our armies in, let these fools kill themselves. We'll mop up what's left, and then we'll rule everything. Like, that's what she wants.
mhm.
Anyone who can or wants her can kill her or wants her dead, killed or subdued, and just continue to live her life. Like, that's what Cersei wants.
Yeah. I guess the thing is with that, there's no one really interesting for her to be talking to,
Yeah,
except that one little old dude. What's his name?
Qyburn.
Yeah,
I like Qyburn. He's weird, but I think
he's
I like
fucking
him.
really weird, dude.
Qyburn reminds me a lot of Dark Dome.
The old Dark Dome.
Dark Dome
Cody?
reminds me of Qyburn. No, like if Dark Dome was a real person, like a real thing, he would be very much like Qyburn.
I can see that. I kind of see him as like Mojo.
He's
Jojo.
weird, dude.
Yeah, like a mad scientist, like you know. So
So hold on, I do want to ask. This is not an
Yeah.
official wrap-up question, but well, I guess it kind of is. Do you guys think that Cersei is going to die next episode?
I don't know.
I think she's dead eventually. I just don't know how or when it's going to happen.
Well, there's
It might happen the last one.
Because I mean, Arya's going to get all the deaths. She's going to kill Cersei too.
But I'm
No.
kind of worried because I was hoping the last episode was going to at least be partially sort of like an epilogue, like a wrap up. But if so, like that leaves basically next episode to be the vast bulk of any more action and plot that comes out. Because in the 6th episode, doesn't just need to be like happy times and smiles. Like things can happen, but like surely they can't do a battle and fighting and intrigue and
Right.
wrap ups in one, like the last episode. Like most
Agreed.
of that have to happen is going to be next episode. Like I think, right? Like,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, it should. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I mean, like, they could do something just really dramatic where they, like, have it wrapped up, seem like everything's going to go one way, and then still just, like, at the very last scene is somebody dying or something, you know? Like, I wouldn't put it past these writers now. Who
Yeah,
knows?
they do have a tendency to want to try and wrap things up.
I mean,
And, like,
I'm not saying that I want that at all. I'm just saying, like, we
my
gotta
stuff
be
for next
prepared for
episode
anything.
is we're definitely getting Drogon fucking burning shit down. I think we're definitely going to get Yara coming in and blasting Euron's ships. And I think we're also going to get Clegane Bowl.
I mean, God, if they don't give us that after this, like the Hound is literally marching on King's Landing right now. Like, give us the Clegane Bowl.
Right.
Yeah, and Jaime Lannister is going to hit his super boosters, catch up to everybody, get to King's Landing before everybody. And just one last thing. I meant to mention this, but the shot of, and it goes back to my point of like this triumphant return, like gone all wrong, like, is when Dany's standing outside the gate with her 2 platoons of, or 2 units of not Dothraki, of the Unsullied, and her dragon like behind her on the ground. Like, it's such a like reversal of glory. Like, and she's still like, oh no, we have the advantage. We're about to fuck these people up. And I really think that's going to happen. I really do think that's going to happen.
I mean, if you go back to Dany's vision in the House of Illusions or whatever seasons ago,
Yeah.
He's King's Landing covered in what was presumably snow, but was obviously, of course, speculated to be ash, which I think makes sense. And she does walk away from the throne. This is why I said she could have redemption. I was reading some about that, where when she's been challenged in things like this in the past, she has actually made the right decisions. Like she chose to go back to save the dragons instead of, going to the throne in her dream, and these just different things. And so I'm hoping that that's kind of what happens. Like she essentially gets to that point of being able to take the throne and like domineer. And I'm thinking it's going to manifest in a straight up like Sansa bend the knee or like you die scenario. And then at the last minute, maybe she decides not to. And like, I don't know. That's what I'm hoping happens either next episode or the one after, or probably the one after. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think like you said, it's patchy here and there, but I'm actually really excited about the next couple episodes.
Yeah, me too.
I'm pumped.
Like after episode 3, I was down to that, dying cell phone glow. But like after that, got me revigorated. Like I said, that's why I'm not like super bright, but I'm Christmas lights. I'm my glowing is up to Christmas lights these days. So
it's like almost making me nervous. Like not nervous like it's gonna be bad, but just like nervous for the show characters. Like what's gonna happen? How is this gonna wrap up? You know what I mean? Like
I think they still have the ability to stick the landing. You know what I mean?
I agree. Because I mean, theoretically, again, they know the ending, or they know parts of the ending. So if that ending was ever going to be satisfying, like we may not get all the satisfying parts around it to maybe make it shine as much as hopefully George R.R. Martin makes it shine through the books. But if we get his ultimate sort of plan, I have a lot of faith in that, and I do have a lot of faith in the show in general. So I am excited.
I'm looking forward to the next 2 for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that about wraps it up, I think. Anybody last things? I think we did all of our. Oh, wait a second. I have one more thing. No, I'm just saying. I think we did that already.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else. I don't think.
I thought you were hitting us with and for only $19.95.
No. Call now, and we'll throw in 2 throne glows. But no, that's it. So I guess this is sign off time.
Yeah.
This has been Holmes 504, JT,
Yep.
Teapot Dome, and we're out.
All right.
Keep it
glowing.